Okay, cool. All right, so let's just start out with the agenda for today. We're going to go over an overview of the Form 700, some background information. We're going to talk briefly about the annual ethics training. It was new last year, so it was brand new last year. So this being only the second year that it's required for majority of filers, we're going to just discuss it again. We're going to talk about how to file your Form 700 and take the annual ethics training. We're going to go through each schedule of the Form 700 to talk about what's reported on the Form what is reported on the Form 700. We're going to provide some resource links and filer support links, and then we'll do a question and answer session. And so let's get started with an overview. So per the Political Reform Act, state and local agencies must adopt a conflict of interest code that identifies all officials and employees within the agency who make governmental decisions based on the positions that they hold. Individuals who are designated in the conflict of interest code, who are identified as making or participating in making government decisions, must disclose financial interests as specified by their position's disclosure category. These disclosures are made in a form called Statement of Economic Interest, also known as the Form 700. Annual statements of economic interest are required to be filed by public officials and designated employees throughout California each spring, which is the topic of today's session. Additionally, the Form 700 must be filed within 30 days of assuming office and 30 days of leaving office. And this form provides transparency and ensures accountability in two ways. First, it provides necessary information to the public about an official personal financial interest to ensure that officials are making decisions in the best interest of the public and not enhancing their personal finances. Second, it serves as a reminder to the public official of potential conflicts of interest so that the official can abstain from making or participating in making governmental decisions that are deemed a conflict of interest. To sum it up, it's, Form 700 disclosure supports transparency and accountability. Right, we'll move on. Now let's talk about who files the Form 700. Employees whose positions that have been designated in the city's conflict of interest code must file, and this session is geared towards designated filers. All filers complete their statement of economic interest online through an e-filing system called NetFile. And a question that we receive sometimes is, how do positions get added to this conflict of interest code? So every other year, there is a citywide process where departments review and update their designated positions. This is not the Ethics Commission saying, hey, this position in this department needs to file. The departments are actually making those decisions, and then the Ethics Commission is there for assistance and for any review that is necessary. Also, elected officials, department heads, board members, and commissioners also file the Form 700, but this session is not for them. It is for designated employees and consultants. Okay, let's move on. We're going to talk about the annual ethics training. We're going to talk about this briefly because it was just introduced last year, still fairly new. So we're going to just go over it just so everyone is aware, but it was part of Proposition D passed by voters in March 2024. It extends the annual ethics training requirement to all Form 700 filers. The annual ethics training is within the NetFile system, and the deadline for filers to complete this training is the same as the deadline to file the Statement of Economic Interest, aka the Form 700. And the deadline this year is April 1st, 2026. So April 1st, 2026, everyone should have their Form 700 submitted and filed within NetFile, and also the annual ethics training also within NetFile. This is not I want to repeat, this is not the annual ethics training. This is just an information session. So with this annual ethics training, just please allow an hour, a little over an hour. I'd say hour, 10 minutes, hour, 20 minutes. Give yourself maybe a little buffer time. So hour and a half is plenty of time to complete the training. And it consists of some short videos, short quizzes, and then a declaration form to sign at the end. Please make sure that when you go through this and complete your the videos and quizzes, that you do sign the declaration form. If you just stop at the videos, you're not going to get credit until you go and sign the form. It should be fairly straightforward with the instructions in the video, but I just want to reiterate that we did get quite a few people last year that were getting reminders saying, hey, I completed this. However, while they did complete the video and the quizzes, they just didn't sign the form. So just make sure the form is signed, or you will be reminded by us throughout the next couple of months to complete that. And there is also an ethics training workflow that provides a step-by-step guide to complete this training. This is truly step-by-step. Kyle, can you please add the link to the ethics training workflow in the chat? I'm going to add a link here. Okay, great. All right. For this slide, we're going to talk about due dates. When you assume office, meaning that you start your position, you have 30 days to complete your Form 700 and your assuming ethics training. The Form 700 in this case is a 1-year look back from your assuming office date. We also have the annual Form 700 and ethics training, which is what this session is about. And the due date of this is April 1st, 2026. This annual filing covers the year before, so it's just like filing taxes. So in 2026, we're covering the Form 700 is covering the calendar year of 2025, January 1st, 2025 to December 31st, 2025. That's what the annual Form 700 is. And then also, if you were to leave office, you are also required to file a Form 700 within 30 days of leaving office. The annual Form 700 and ethics trainings, both of these are already available on your NetFile account. So you can complete these now if you would like to. They've been available since January 1st, actually. So some people have already completed them. That's great. You have until April 1st to do so, to complete both filing requirements. Now, I want to throw a note in here. If you assumed office between October 1st, 2025 and April 1st, 2026, and filed an assuming office Form 700 and took your assuming office ethics training, you don't need to file the Form 700 or take the annual ethics training until April 2027. If you do fit into this time frame and you see an annual Form 700 or annual ethics training within your NetFile account, please open a support ticket and let us know, because we will take a close look. It shouldn't be like that. However, with software, some dates can be messed up, rearranged. Just please let us know. We will take a look with you and determine if you do need to file or not. So it's just something to keep in mind. All right, we're going to move on. So now let's talk about how to file your Form 700 and take the annual ethics training. If you would like, open a separate tab and follow along. It's very simple to do. Number one is you navigate to the Ethics Commission website, which is sfethics.org. On this website, on the main Ethics Commission page, there's a banner, right? You'll see it. It's right in the middle, and it says exactly what it says in this screenshot. Form 700 and annual training due April 1st. Within that banner, there is a Get Started button. You want to click on that, and then it'll take you to the Form 700 filer page, we call it. There is a Form 700 filers link right below a picture of the Golden Gate Bridge. You click on that link, and there will be a button on the next page that says file your Form 700, e-file Form 700. You click that, it will take you right to the NetFile login page. Very straightforward, pretty easy to get to, and your login page will look something like this. It will just ask for your email address, username, or SMS number. Email, best way to go. We probably don't have your phone number on file. It's or especially your cell phone number. A lot. It's email is how to log in. Your government email, your sfgov.org or whatever. I know departments have different. It could be, SF Water or DPH. Your city email address is your login for the most part. 99% of the time it is. There are rare occasions where a personal email address is used. If you're not able to log in, just please let us know. Just open a support ticket with us. We will get it squared away. Once you're at this page, just know we want you to complete and submit your filing requirements online by the due date. Paper submissions are not accepted. They have not been accepted for a few years now, I believe over 5 years now. So if you open a ticket with us and say, hey, where can I send my paper form? It's just not going to be accepted. You have to electronically file. If you forgot your password to your NetFile account, not a problem. I know most people only do this once a year, so it happens that you forget a password. There is a new user / forgot password link that is highlighted on this page right here. Just go ahead and click that. It's going to ask you to enter your email address. You enter your email address, click submit, and a password reset email will be sent to you. It's very quick. It's usually within about, I'd say at the most 5 minutes, but probably not even that. It's fairly instantaneously. So give it a few minutes. If you don't receive it, please reach out to us. Let us know. We'll figure out where the issue is. Okay, so after this, you're logged in. Everything looks good. This is what your filer dashboard is going to look like. You're going to land on your filer dashboard, and the part of the filer dashboard that you want to focus on, well, there's a couple of parts, but the main part is what's under the filings to complete section. That just means, hey, these are the filings you have to complete. If there's nothing under there, you have nothing to complete. So once you finish completing, say, your Form 700, which is the top filing to complete on this image, it's going to disappear because it's already completed. It's going to drop down to your filing history, which is below this. At the very top of the page, though, I do want to point out that you'll be able to see your disclosure category. On this page, it says, I believe this is a picture of mine, actually. So it says Ethics Commission, that's my department, and then Category 1. That means I am a Disclosure Category 1 filer. You will see a link next to it that says View Category Information Document. Click on the link and it will download the conflict of interest code page that breaks down your specific filing requirements based on your disclosure category. Each department could have different requirements for different disclosure categories. So please make sure to read yours. Not everyone is a disclosure category 1. Not everyone is a disclosure category 2. It varies across all departments, and one department could have 5 disclosure categories while another could have 1. And so this is very, very important. You want to read the definition that your department made for your specific disclosure category. Also on this page, I mentioned under the filings to complete section, there's a create checkbox for each of the filings. They're highlighted here. You want to do these one at a time. Just make sure that if you start your Form 700, please complete it before you go and try to start your annual ethics training. There may be problems with drafts if you try to do one without completing the other. So complete one, move on to the next one. And how do you do that? You click on the create checkbox for one of them and then click the start selected document. It takes you right to either your Form 700 or your annual ethics training. All right. I'm going to move on, and we're going to talk about how to amend a filed Form 700. If you realize you made a mistake or admitted something on your Form 700, not a big deal. You can always file an amendment. Amendments can be made to current or prior year's filings. Amendments can be made at any time without penalty and should be filed as soon as the discrepancy is known. And one thing I want to make sure everyone's aware of that is very important to amend the relevant year's filing. As you can see in this picture right here, it shows your e-filing history, which is also on your NetFile homepage. It's just below the filings to complete section. This shows what you have completed. There's an amend link next to the Form 700 that I did last year. Basically, oh no, sorry, it's this year. I filed this on January 2nd, 2026. If I was trying to amend the filing from 2025, I would look for the 2025 filing, not the 2026 filing. So you're going to want to make sure you click amend on the correct Form 700. But it's really that simple. You just click amend. It will take you to what you already submitted previously for whatever year you select. All right. At this time, I'm going to take a slight break and have Kyle take over. He's going to talk about schedules within the Form 700. So I'm going to quickly stop sharing, and Kyle's going to take over here. And Kyle, go ahead and take it away.
Thank you, Kevin. 1 second while I try to share my screen. Okay. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to walk us through the first few schedules of the Form 700, starting with Schedule A1, which covers certain types of investments. So Schedule A1 focuses on investments where the ownership interest is less than 10%. The key thing to remember here is that this schedule is about financial interests in business entities. An investment means a financial interest in a business entity that does business or plans to do business in your agency's jurisdiction. It applies if you or your spouse, registered domestic partner, or your dependent children had direct, indirect, or beneficial interest of $2,000 or more at any time during the reporting period. Reportable investments include stocks, bonds, warrants, and options, including those held in brokerage accounts or managed funds, sole proprietorships, your own business, or your spouse's or registered domestic partner's business, partnerships such as a law firm or like a family farm. All right, so now that I covered what is reportable under Schedule A1, let's talk about what is not required to be disclosed. So one important thing to remember is that not all financial accounts or assets need to be reported under this schedule. You are not required to disclose government bonds, including municipal bonds or diverse mutual funds and certain exchange traded funds, bank accounts, savings accounts, money market accounts, and certificates of deposit. You don't have to disclose this cryptocurrency, insurance policies, annuities, commodities, shares in a credit union. These type of investments are generally not viewed as creating the same type of conflict of interest concerns. So moving on to Schedule A2. This is used when your spouse or registered domestic partner or your dependent children, either together or separately, own 10% or more of a business entity or trust. This includes business entities such as consulting businesses, independent contracting businesses, and trusts, including living trusts as well. Just like Schedule A1, this entity must be doing business and planning to do business in, or have done business in the past 2 years within your agency's jurisdiction. One important difference between A2 is that you must also report investments in real property held by the entity or trust if your pro rata share of that interest is $2,000 or more. Next, moving away from business interest and into Schedule B, which covers interest in real property. Schedule B requires you to report interest in real property located in your agency's jurisdiction if the value was over $2,000 or more at any time during that reporting period. One important detail is that real property is considered within the jurisdiction, not only if it isn't physically like inside the boundaries, but also if it's located within 2 miles outside the boundaries. And that also includes property within 2 miles of land owned or used by the local government agency. So even if a property is technically outside of the city limits, it may still be reportable. So interest in real property examples include ownership interests, including beneficial ownership, a deed of trust, easement, or option to acquire property, a leasehold interest, a mining lease, a real property held in retirement account, and your spouse's or registered domestic partner's separately held real property interest. In short, if there's some type of qualifying financial interest in real property within the nearest agency's jurisdiction, then it meets the $2,000 threshold and it should be disclosed under Schedule B. So now that we cover what must be reported in Schedule B, let's talk about what's not required. So you're not required to report a residence that is used exclusively as your personal home, such as a primary residence or a vacation cabin. You do not need to report that. However, there's an important exception that if you rent out a room in the residence or claim a business deduction related to the property, then it may become reportable at that moment. So the key distinction here is whether the residence is used strictly for personal purposes or once there is a business or income component, it may be reported. So Schedule C. Schedule C requires you to report the source and the amount of gross income of $500 or more received during a reporting period. So gross income means that the total amount received before deducting expenses, losses, or taxes. So this schedule also includes loans other than loans from like a commercial lending institution. So you must also report income received by your spouse or registered domestic partner if your community property share was $500 or more during the reporting period. These commonly reportable sources can include salary, wages, per diem, and employment reimbursements, including travel payments, your 50% community property interest in your spouse's or registered domestic partner's income, income from partnerships reported on Schedule A, commission income not reported on Schedule A2, gross income from any sale, including a sale of a house or car, rental income not reported on Schedule B, payments received on loans you made to others, and incentive compensation. So in short, if you receive $500 or more from a source during the reporting period, that source likely needs to be reported and disclosed on the Schedule C. So this concludes my portion of the talking about the schedules. I'm going to pass it back to Kevin to explain Schedule D. Oh, actually, sorry. Oops. I'm going to talk about I'm going to briefly go over what you don't need to disclose. This is an important part of Schedule C. You're not required to report any salary, reimbursements, per diem, Social Security, disability, or similar benefit payments received by you or your spouse or registered domestic partner from a federal, state, or local government agency. You don't need to report stock dividends or income from sales or of stock, also not required to be reported unless the source can be specifically identified. Income from peers' retirement account is also not reportable under this schedule. So while Schedule C covers many types of income over $500, there are also important exclusions, particularly for government compensation and certain stock incomes and payers' retirement benefits. And now that concludes my portion of talking about the schedules. I'm going to pass back to Kevin to talk about Schedule D, income gifts. Stop sharing and go.
Thanks, Kyle. All right, let me share my screen again. We're almost done with the schedules, so thanks, Kyle, for walking through some of those. I'm going to share my screen. Oh, this thing popped up. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about Schedule D. This is income, specifically gifts. So a gift is anything of value for which you have not provided equal or greater consideration to the donor. A gift is reportable if its fair market value is $50 or more. In addition to that, multiple gifts totaling $50 or more received during the reporting period from a single source must be reported. So if, for example, you receive a gift from one person that's valued at $25, and then you receive another gift later in the year that's valued at $35, the total of that is over $50. It would be $60. So you would have to report the those gifts. And it is the acceptance of the gift, not the ultimate use to which it's put, that imposes your reporting obligation. So commonly reportable gifts, I'm not going to read this whole list, but tickets / passes to sporting events or entertainment events, tickets to amusement parks, food, beverages, and accommodation, including those provided in direct connection with your attendance at a convention, conference, meeting, social event, meal, or light gathering, rebates or discounts not made in the regular course of business to members of the public without regard to official status. For example, if you're getting a discount from someone at a business, but it's not available to members of the public, that's a gift. If it is available to everyone, like the members of the public, it's not a gift because it's available to everyone, not just you. We're going to move on to the next slide to talk about what you are not required to disclose. Again, there's a big list here. I'm not going to read all of them, but just some ones that stick out. So gifts that were not used and that within 30 days after receipt were returned to the donor or delivered to a charitable organization or government agency without being claimed by you as a charitable contribution for tax purposes, you don't have to disclose it. So you receive a gift, you don't use it, and within 30 days you donate it to a charity or donate it to a government agency or return it to the donor, that's not considered a gift anymore. You don't disclose it. Gifts from your spouse or registered domestic partner, child, parent, grandparent, grandchild, brother, sister are not required to be disclosed. Gifts of similar value exchanged between you and an individual other than a lobbyist registered to lobby your agency on holidays, birthdays, or similar occasions are not required to be disclosed. A monetary bequest or inheritance is not required to be disclosed. However, inherited investments or real property may be reported on other schedules. So maybe it's not required to be disclosed on Schedule D, but it's possible that it is required to be reported on another schedule within your Form 700. Any questions that come up about any of these schedules, these can be very specific to all of you individually, especially because the first thing we're going to look at is what's your disclosure category? What are you required to disclose? So please just open a support ticket with us and we'll go walk through it with you for your individual Form 700 if you have to disclose things or not. It's really as simple as that. And you know, not every, like I said before, not everyone's the same disclosure category. Even if you are a disclosure category 2 and you work for, say, the airport, and Kyle, for example, is a disclosure category 2, but he works for the Department of Public Health. Those definitions, each department could have different definitions for disclosure category 2. So it's really, really important that you look at the definitions and go from there. Quickly, I'm going to talk about Schedule E, which is income as well, but it's for travel payments, advances, and reimbursements. So travel payments reportable on Schedule E include advances and reimbursements for travel and related expenses, including lodging and meals. For this schedule, there's a list here of what you're not required to disclose. I'll just go through a few of them. Travel payments received from any state, local, or federal government agency for which you provided services equal or greater in value than the payments received, such as reimbursement for travel on agency business from your government agency employer. Travel payments received from your employer in the normal course of business of your employment that are included in the income reported on Schedule C. So essentially, if you're reporting income on Schedule C that has to do with travel payments, you don't also have to report it on Schedule E. And the last one is a travel payment that was received from a nonprofit entity exempt from taxation, a 501c3 nonprofit, for which you provided greater or equal consideration, such as reimbursement for travel on business for that organization for which you are a board member. Again, these can get a little complicated as well. My suggestion is if you open a ticket with us, work with us individually. We'll talk with you about your individual scenario, make sure that you're reporting the right thing or not, like disclosing or not disclosing on your Form 700. Okay, so that actually is done. We're done with the schedules. Very high level overview. As I said, these can vary wildly between filers. We do need to talk about this. So what if you don't file or file late? And I know that nobody on this session is going to do this, but we still need to talk about it. So being on sick leave or sabbatical or vacation or just forgot to do it or my internet wasn't working, these are not exceptions. The lesson here is just to please file on time. Don't wait till the last minute to file, because if you come across this and come to us and say, oh, it's late because I had technical issues or my internet was down, it's just not an exception at all. So there is no provision in the law to extend Form 700 or annual ethics training deadlines. It's the deadline's April 1st. Anytime after that, if it gets in, it's considered late. If you do file late, there are potential for late fees. And then if you don't file at all, there are potentials for disciplinary or enforcement actions with potential fines of up to $5,000 per violation or 3 times the cumulative amount for not properly reporting. So please just file on time. Like, we have an enforcement team here. Part of mine and Kyle's job is we don't want any one of you to meet them. They're great people, but don't want you to meet them. And so whatever we can do to help make sure that you file on time, please just come to us. All right. And then here's a resource list. Kyle's going to add some links into the chat for everyone. There's a Form 700 website for Form 700 filers. There is the ethics training workflow that Kyle put in earlier, which is, step by step. This is how you get it done. And we also have a link to the support portal. So if anything comes up, please reach out to us. Don't feel like you're bothering us. Don't feel like it's like a question that you think you should know. It's totally okay. We are here to help. So this is part of our jobs. We are here to help you. All right, and that concludes our slide portion. So thank you everyone for joining, but don't go away yet because we're going to go into the going to answer some questions that were sent to us. But yeah, thanks for joining. We just want to make sure everyone gets these in on time. There's no confusion or anything. So please reach out to us with any questions.